Hey, just joining back in here for another shop hangout. Gonna keep working on this Steinway A. I leveled the strings before our lunch break here, and then as I'm listening to it, I'm wanting to re-glue the hammers in one of the sections because I'll show you. I like this sound up here. I really like that sound, but when you go lower than that to the next section, it's not so great. I don't like that quality of sound. So I end up doing this a lot sometimes, but if I pull the action out about 1/8 of an inch, it has more fullness and sustain in that section. But notice here it's really anemic, right? So the solution for me that I'm going to do is so here's this quality versus this. That one's more open. It also has more sustain versus this. Maybe the sustain's kind of similar, but because of the quality of this tone, it sounds choked. So anyway, so from this point on, as I'm putting together a piano, I'm thinking about the tone and the touch, and making it just really excellent. And so, I might stop the regulation process, the damper refinement process like this at any point and decide, okay, we're going to move these hammers. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to move these hammers, and I'll show you what I do that. I've already determined that about 1/8 of an inch is going to be good for this, and it'll improve the sound of this area, which is where a lot of melodies are played, and it needs to be beautiful. Right, Landon? Right. So here. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and take the stack off. And yeah, so we'll be able to use a jig to hang the hammers. In this case, I like to do a straight line, if at all possible. And I think it is always possible to do a straight line and then just voice accordingly. I've seen some people hang hammers, kind of custom hang them like an S almost, or a curve, and that creates problems in maintaining the piano down the road that I'm not particularly fond of. So I'd much prefer to be able to hang them in a straight line in the section. Okay. Just undoing the action stack screws here. Oh, this has a real bad burr on it. It's just really sharp. I'm gonna cut someone. I'm gonna knock that off real quick. Meanwhile, we have Landon stringing in the background now. He's ready to string that piano. So you might hear some noise from that. Sometimes if you just have a really, really hard hammer, it can kind of cover up some issues with the tone quality, with where the hammer's striking the strings. But that's foundational, I think, before you build up the tone by hardening the hammer more or less. So let's see, we've just about got the screws off. I forgot one screw. Can't be doing that. Put that back in there. And we're going to take the stack off here. Okay. So what I'm saying with that is I could have just dismissed this and just said, well, that's just how this piano sounds. It's an older piano, and just made those hammers really hard and loud. But the tone wouldn't be as good. And after all this work, doing the whole piano, it's worth just redoing a little bit. It doesn't take that long. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. Tilt you sideways a little bit here. More. Like so here. Okay, so it's this section. It's this section that we're going to rehang, and we're going to hang it this direction about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take a hammer off and measure the current distance that it's hung. Let's see, and then maybe I can get. Hey, we got kind of a double view there. So when you're hanging a hammer, the hanging distance is from the middle of this pin, where you see the red cloth there, the middle of that pin to the imaginary center line of the hammer. Okay. So we're going to see what it is currently, because I don't remember for sure what I did. I'm going to do it with some calipers here. And okay. So I put that distance on the tool. So that's what it is. I'm going to put a number to that by getting out a machinist rule. Okay, you're good. Yeah, you're good. It sounds like a machine gun here. Okay, so I'm looking for a ruler that's standard measurements and not metric. And of course I can't find one. Okay, I'm going to put a number to that hanging distance, and it is, right now it's 5 and a 16th. Maybe I'm gonna go a 16th. Let me check it here. If I go in a 6 and 8, I think I'm gonna stick to an 8. And no, I'm changing my mind again. 16th. I don't want to overshoot it and then have the tone be undesirable in another way. So I'm gonna change this hanging distance right to 5 inches for this first treble section, and that's it. The other sections I'm gonna leave alone. They sound correct to me. So, and this is not ideal. I don't prefer to have different lengths, from one section to another. But for me, the tone's paramount in the touch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line on this camera with a pencil. And I'm just going to, gosh, my camera's freezing all over the place here. I'm going to draw a center dot and a center dot further over. And then I'm going to connect the dots and make a center line as a guide. So I place the ruler right up to my dots. And then I check, because your pencil line's a little bit of a distance away from the ruler, right? So I check to make sure that I'm holding it where it's going to go right through the dots. I flinched a little bit, but that's pretty good. So now this has a center line across it that I can measure from. I'm going to do the same thing on the other end of the section of the other end of this section. And this is just to help me confirm that I'm moving the section the distance that I want, that I've determined, which in this case is a 16th of an inch further towards the pianist. Okay. So I've got a center line on both of these, and that's going to help me as I hang them on the jig. Put these back close to where they were as possible. Because I've already aligned my hammers left and right, I don't want to disturb that if I. Sorry about that. We had a call come in there on our camera phone. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop off these 2 guide hammers, okay? And I'm going to use these awesome pliers that you can't get anymore that make this just like butter, so smooth, just to pop off the hammers. And then I need to do a couple things to get ready to. I need to pop the glue. I need to get rid of this glue collar off of here. There's a glue collar on there, and I need to knock that off so that it doesn't make it difficult to hang the hammer on the shank again. I don't want it too tight on the shank. Okay. Then I've got two tools. I've got a reamer. Oh, I wish that camera would quit freezing. But I've got a reamer here, and I've got a another type, an outer reamer, so I can knock off the old glue off the shanks here with this one, and I can open up the hole in the hammer again just a little bit with this, so that the shank goes in very smoothly. So I'm just going to do this on the samples first and get them hung where I need to, and then I'll set up the jig and just hang everything in between. And there we go. Now my camera's working again. And I like to put this one in the drill because it's fast. Got knocked off the glue collar on that. Now I'm going to just check the fit. Yeah, that's nice and loose. That's what I want. Perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and hang both of those samples. I need my hammer hanging square. Grab it. And I have my caliper set to the 5 inches that we're going to use. Just double check that here. Yep. Okay. I'll get some glue. So here's the hammer I'm going to do. Just put a little gob of glue, not too much. And I'm going to spin this on here. And I want to go about a 1/16 of an inch different from where I was towards the pianist. So I'm just removing this hammer so I can get in here and measure really nicely. So I went a little farther than what I said I was going to. So back that out. You know what though? Changing my mind again, how far I want to go. I want to go that far. Which is 5 inches, okay. So I'm not changing my mind. Play around with this a little bit here. Then I'm going to check that I'm square. I've got my line on the other side of this that I'm looking at against the edge of my square. I've got this square here. So I can put it flat against the shank and see that I'm square. Then I'm going to check that I'm twisted correctly. Now I'm going to do the other hammer on the other end of the section. This is 68. Spin it on here. About that far. Let's see what our measurement is. I'm going to check the distance with these calipers. I went a little far. Okay, that's it. Then I'm going to make sure my twist is right. Then I'm going to check it with my little hammer square again. Same thing. I want these to be 90 degrees with this shank. Okay. And then it needs it to be twisted correctly. So I'm going to show you from the top. You know what? I'm going to go a little more extreme on the top because I think it needs it. When I say extreme, I just mean I'm hanging it closer towards me. Just a little bit. I'm not talking about much here. Maybe a 32nd of an inch or so. Okay, check my squareness. Again. Pretty square. Check my twist. Good. So now I'm going to show you the difference, what we're going to end up with. So here's the new distance we're going to end up. Here's where they were hung in a straight line there. Same thing over here. It's just towards me a little bit. And so now we're going to pop all these middles off and prep them for gluing. We should be set. Okay, let's try a different angle for fun. So, first thing I'm going to do, I'll stick this hammer back on. I don't need him off anymore. This is just kind of, you might say, custom hanging of the hammers in this first treble section to get better voicing out of it. Okay, so now I'm going to pop all these hammers off with my pliers. I'm very careful not to do violence to the shank. Okay, as we saw the other day, or some of you might have seen when I broke the shank when I was messing around. I was not being careful enough. Okay, that. You might say, why don't I just take the shanks off the rail? I'd rather preserve the left and right alignment that I worked hard to get where I can to save me some work going forward. So I'm just extra careful taking these off. Of course, the hammers are numbered, so that's not a big deal. There's no worry about mixing them up. And last one here. Okay, I'll go ahead and pull these off. Let's put them in order out of the way here. Oh, I'm just kind of stuck on there. 60, 61, 62, 63, 65, 66, and 67. So now I know my procedure. I can go through and do the same operations. Clean off my glue collar. And now I'm doing it without having to pick up and set down a tool each time. Saves a lot of time. See if we can get right on top of those. Let's take a look at what's going on with them there. Okay. Now I'm going to ream the hammers out just a little bit. First I have to knock the glue collars off though, I forgot. Same thing with my tool here. I can just kind of knock that glue collar that's still left on there. Okay. If I don't knock off the glue, the old glue, I won't be able to position this hammer right exactly where I want it. And it won't look like a very neat job. I need some play in order to, in the looseness of the fit, in this case, to get it to look like a nice clean job. Okay. These pliers are just wonderful. I had another set and it was stolen out of my car in my driveway. In a matter of about 5 minutes, when I went inside, someone grabbed my whole tool bag and just made off with it, probably just looking for money or medication or something. And unfortunately, I never recovered it. And the supplier no longer carried this tool. I've tried to get it duplicated and haven't had any luck with that yet, to find someone who had the time to do it. What makes these pliers special is they have a compound action. So the amount of leverage you have when you're squeezing these is the force is extremely high. So it makes for a really, really controlled squeeze and a punch of the hammer out. Other types of pliers that are meant for the same purpose that I've seen so far, you wouldn't want to do this without first softening the glue a little bit with heat. But these I don't have to worry about that. I don't know if you see, but the wood splinters a little bit where it was glued, but it's not enough to compromise the integrity of the hammer or anything. So I'm not too worried about it. I'll put a nice new glue collar on these that'll be quite thick, and it'll be a solid deal. I'm not worried about it at all. Okay. Just about got it. One more. And let's see, got some comments on the chat. Greetings from Seattle, Valentine Lysenko. Greetings. Thanks for watching, and also Jeffrey Boyle. Jeffrey's back. Okay, got those glue collars knocked off. Now I want to ream the insides out just a little bit by hand here. Just to open that up and free it up. I don't want to run this one in the drill. I think I might overdo it if I run this reamer in the drill. That's why I'm just doing it by hand. Okay. I guess I'm not very chatty this afternoon. Neither is Landon, but he's over there too far. You're not going to hear him. He's focused. High level focus. Okay. This reamer's tapered, so the more it plunges in, the wider it goes. Because I want the shank to be, I don't want to see a gap, around the shank on this tail, but I want it to be somewhat loose to make sure I can get the hammer tilted at 90 degrees from the shank. So this tapered reamer helps to achieve that. Okay, I'm just going to check the dry fit of all of these on their shank that they're going to go on. Make sure it's nice and loose. Because by the time you get glue on there, it becomes kind of a mess to fix at that point. This is a little messy. A little better. Okay. I think as a general rule, when you're gluing something, you want to dry fit it before you get glue in there and commit to something that's not going to work out.
True.
Is it true? Landon agrees. Must be true. All right, let's see if that fits a little better. Yeah, that's what I like. And I have adjusted a few of these, so obviously this was a good idea to do this. This reamer tool has a collar around it, so that I can engage it more or less so that the diameter of what I'm reaming becomes smaller. So if it's not quite enough, I can tighten it a little bit and take off and shave off just a little more wood. Okay. A few more here to check. 54 and 53. Note number 53. It's a little tight. Okay, I think we're in business. So now I'm going to get my jig, my hammer hanging jig. This jig is really handy. It makes it so that, let's see, I can just put this here and see something, see what we're doing on that. Let's see. I'll just go over here. I'm trying to get a decent view of that jig. This jig allows me to set my end samples down at the level, about the level where it's going to strike the string, and then I can butt the tails up against this lip here so that all my tails will end in the same place, which I want. And then I can take this upper portion and touch it to the widest part of the hammer here on both, because the hammers have a taper to them, right? So like if we look at this, this hammer is narrower than this, and so it's gonna, that white piece will mimic that taper so that they'll be in a straight line as I go. And I'll tighten these nuts. So that'll preserve the 90-degree angle that I worked to get on my samples, and also the distance out, and they'll all line up in a row. So we're gonna, yeah, stick you on the tripod here, and we'll hang some hammers. If I can get these out of the way without moving my jig, I think I'll be okay. I'm gonna get some glue, and I'm gonna go one at a time, okay? Because this glue sets up pretty quickly. I'm turning it so the glue gets all the way around like a collar, all the way around the hammer. Okay, what number are we on now? 66. Yes, indeed. I'm going to have to do some work, some alignment work after this, just by nature of, to get it in the exact same place probably isn't, with the tilt and everything of the hammer. I'll need to check where they're hitting the strings. But it should be really, really close. Okay. Hanging hammers a second time is a little more sticky than the first time because the wood is swollen up a bit and things. And so, I mean, I reamed them, but still, it's not quite as smooth as that initial hanging. So if I can avoid it, I will. But I guess it's important not to be afraid of doing this if it's going to make a good improvement of the tone. Okay. I got a bit much glue on that one. Don't need that much for sure. Alright. There's that. And I don't have to worry too much if the hammers are twisted left or right after I glue, because I can correct that afterwards with a heat gun and a little bit of pressure and get it just perfect how I want it. So if you're wondering, that's why the spacing doesn't look perfect right now, but it'll get adjusted once this glue's dry enough. See if we have any comments on the chat here. Greetings from Ireland. That's a new one for me. Greetings. Ireland, Landon. Landon is not Irish, but he can appreciate that. Landon is what, Italian? And what else, Landon? Well, American, whatever that is, right? Danish. I'm Danish, English. I think a little bit of Irish somewhere in there. We're all brothers in some way. Okay. So we're just hanging them on down the row. This jig is just great. I mean, you can hang them freestyle without a jig too. One way I like to do that, if I was going to do that in a home or something and didn't have my tools with me, I'd probably detach every other hammer. Let me think out loud here. Was that what I would do? And go in between just to make less work. Okay. These are going kind of nice. Hopefully, I don't know, from my view on the computer, the mobile cam keeps freezing periodically. I don't know if that's what it's looking like for you on the stream. And if the audio is cutting in and out, that would be horrible. I apologize if that's the case. Let me know. But I don't have super high-tech stuff in place. You know, we're not really making any money off streaming significantly, you know. I think we're almost to like $10 total. So, you know, on YouTube, but so we're not doing it to get rich. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Okay. So if we look at those from the top, got a nice, you can see my ink lines where the strings hit. We marked those at another time. But I'm going to let that glue dry. Right now they're white collars. It's going to end up like this where it's invisible with this type of glue, which doesn't matter to me at all, but just FYI on that kind of glue. And then I am actually, while that's drying, I'm going to go back to the Steinway dealer and work on the Model D that I was working on last night. So if you have a chance to tune into that and want to, probably a half hour or so, and I'll be up and running over there. See any questions here? Audio good, didn't notice any video problem. Oh, that's a relief, because I thought it was just glitching a lot from when I move around this phone camera. So I thank goodness. And thanks everyone for joining and tuning in here. We'll revisit this. We'll see how these sound later when I'm back in the shop, but I'm going to go work on a D. We put some lacquer on it last night, deep lacquered the hammers to make it a more exciting instrument, and we'll see what the result of that was. All right, see you on the flip side. Oh, what type of glue am I using, Jeffrey? I'll show you. It's Type Bond Quick and Thick. It used to be called molding and trim glue. Okay, it dries clear. It's very, I was looking for something really viscous and thick that was tacky, because some glues, hanging hammers, I would run into, they would drip everywhere and just be a mess, you know, and I wouldn't get a good collection. So for hanging hammers, that's initially what I got this for, but now I use it for a lot of field repairs because it sets up so fast. So Type Bond Quick and Thick, but you got to get it fresh. Sometimes the supplier the glue is old and it's not good. It needs to flow and be liquid and not globby. Good question. Oh, and I had a message on this chat. Someone watching from South Africa. All right. I have no idea what time it is for you, but I hope you're well. All right, we'll talk to you later.